I'm Ace of Spades and you're watching Goblin-Inc. How's this Druid Speed Runner reaching War Tier 3 in just 3 hours? Is it Tren? What are his juicy secrets? Lightning Storm can make Pat build using Shepherd Aspect beat the Speedrunner Pulverize build? Patch 1.1, did it change anything for leveling? Core Dragon, Speedrunner say it's the best XP stronghold. So why is Rock saying Temple of Rot is the best one? Is it trolling us? And what's the new secret leveling method that supposedly stomps on rocks and the speedrunners? By the end of the video you will know the best leveling build and the best leveling strategies only Druid can use. Well guys, thanks to the speedrunner Goliath, Druid is not gonna be as painful to level this time. His knowledge has helped me greatly to put this build and guide together as I watched a lot of his footage. First of all, I know no one wants to play Pulverize, so I tested Shepherd Aspect with Lightning Storm, as it's the only playable build other than Pulverize that is reliable as it does not require aspects outside of the Codex to work. Plus, you can get Shepherd's Aspect in Bloodsoaked Crag, very easy dungeon, and you can do that after your cast quest. You requested it, so I tested it, but unfortunately, the Speedrunner Pulverize build has 2 secret mechanics that blow Lightning Storm out of the water. The first secret I learned from Goliath was using Retaliation Aspect. On a two-handed weapon, it's a 40% damage increase, as long as you can keep your Fortify up. A trick he uses to have Fortify up early is by using the skill Maul as a generator, which gives a 3% Fortify generation per use. Goliath enchants his two-handed weapon at level 25, and then again about every 10 levels or before capstone dungeons. Obtain this aspect by completing Seaside Descent in Dry Steppes after reaching level 18. Before we talk about the second big mechanic we're abusing, we need to talk about how the build starts to snowball really hard at about level 35, where we switch to the final version of the leveling build. I will have a second talent tree for this, by the way. We will be going around getting more aspects at this point. The most important one you need to get is Ursine Horror in the dungeon Belfry Zakara. The aspect is really important because it will turn your Pulverize into an Earth skill and allows us to proc the Keystone Nature's Fury, which by casting extra skills will trigger a variety of passive but also boost our damage and even spirit generation. I would suggest to add this aspect to one of your rings so you don't need to re-enchant it so often. At this point you might ask, what's the second big mechanic I hinted about? Well, it was hiding in plain sight. It's just how broken the Boon Obsidian Slam is. Killing 20 enemies gives you a free overpower every time. It's really easy to kill 20 enemies in Strongholds. I realized how crazy that is, making this boon insane in the early game. The leveling phase is so much easier. Overpower is so OP early game, and I even use HP on gear for it, which turns a defensive stat in a really good offensive stat as well. That's why the most important thing is when you do your class quest, be sure to have at least 125 offerings, because the snake is really greedy and he wants 100 offerings to be unlocked. And then you're gonna need 25 for the Eagle crit chance boon. Now that we know how the best leveling build looks like, I'm sure you guys want to know who is right about leveling strategies. Speedrunners said Core Dragon is the best Strongholds, and Rux said Temple of Rot is the best Strongholds. Different classes also will all get different results. With Druids, what I tested, Temple of Rot is actually 10% faster, meaning Rux was right all along. And I didn't even really try to min-max the route for it. I was winging it. Meanwhile, for Core Dragon, I was min-maxing the route copied from Goliath, so Temple of Rot I can confirm that for Druids, at least, it's definitely better. But what about the secret leveling method I hinted before? Well, the content creator Drybears released this spreadsheet claiming that about 10 dungeons or so are better than the Strongholds. I tested them and I found it to be very, very untrue. Even after patch 1.1 nerfed Stronghold EXP, they are still wildly overperforming dungeons like Blind Burrows, which is top 2 in the list. I tested this on my stream yesterday, and you can see it in the VOD if you want. The link for my stream is below, you can check it on there if you want to see the footage. Okay, so for those that don't want to use a link on the website, let's go over the gear aspects and talents a little bit and explain it a little bit more in depth how the build works. So this is the build version after level 35. We are using, at this point, Storm Strike, not Maul, because it can proc our main passive, which is Resonance, 18% damage if we cast Earth Skill after a Lightning Skill, and vice versa. We generate a lot of Fortify in this build, which is very important, because already we talked about how we use specific aspects to increase the damage while we have Fortify. So whenever you shift, you Fortify. Whenever you crit with Earth Skill, we're gonna Fortify. We can increase the damage of our Earth Skills. Every time we cast a Storm or Earth Skills, we have a 30% chance to cast more of them. So we can generate more Spirit because we cast more basic skills. When we cast Pulverize, which is an Earth Skill now, we reduce the enemy damage by 20%, extremely powerful. Debilitating Roar will heal us, give us Fortify. Blood Howl can heal and give attack speed. With Vigilance, whenever we cast one of those defensive skills, we're gonna get defensive for 6 seconds, very powerful again. We use Trample to move very quickly. Of course, it's also a Werebear skill, so that's okay. We use Circle of Life every time we cast a Nature Magic skill. We're gonna be healing. They nerfed the boon Masochist, so we don't heal with that anymore. Quick Shift also gives us damage when we transform, and Heightened Senses gives us damage reduction when we switch between forms. So you always want to be weaving a Storm Strike into a Pulverize, pretty much. Now for gear and aspects, in the guide that I provide, I will tell you when to upgrade your gear, etc. But in general, if you have to prioritize, always upgrade your weapon and then upgrade your chest after. So you always want to have red gems for overpowered damage, because as we talked about, Obsidian Slam is a huge part of the build. Also, while you're healthy, you're gonna have overpower proc on your Pulverize, which is extremely overpowered. We don't use Masochist anymore as it has been nerfed. We want swooping attacks, which gives us attack speed, but also Scythe Talons and Iron Feather are extremely desirable boons to have. So if you want to experiment between those two, you can do it. I don't know which one is best, because now that this one is 14%, like holy shit. Wariness gives us damage reduction, no big deal. Big Thing, Pack Leader, critical strikes reduce the cooldown of your companion skill. We like to run Poison Creeper because it's a really strong skill and gives us also 20% critical strike chance. That's the biggest reason to run that. Aspect, the most important one from the Codex, is of course Retaliation. After that, Pulverize is a nerf skill. And that's pretty much got you covered. Now, you have 2 more slots on Jewels. You don't change Duels a lot. So on Jewels, try to keep something you would keep using. For example, Earth skills do more critical strike damage is a good one. Attacking enemy with the basic skill increase the damage of your next core skills. Another that is really good is damaging Werebear. You know, you remove the poison and you do instantly damage. It's not great, but there's really not much else. It's actually not that good, believe me. What that I really like is damage from Earth skills slow enemies, which you need to have if you want to use this one properly. So if you want to use Crush Stone, make sure that you enchant Quicksand on your boots. And for defensive ones, basic skill grant damage reduction, and of course Disobedience. Those are the most important ones. Now, if you want to run the Bulwark one, you can run this on the Helm, which is not bad, or you can run damage reduction while Werebear form, while in Werewolf form, but it's not really useful as we don't use that a lot. So sometimes I use my Bulwark, especially for capstone dungeons, and you take away Trample, in which case this one comes pretty handy in that case. And that's it. Check the description, guys, for the full step-by-step leveling guide. And for the talents, etc. There's gonna be 2 builds. one for level 1 to 35, one from 35 till you wanna switch to your endgame build. I hope you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I checked all the leveling strategies, all the best builds. We have a good result. I'm gonna leave you with a document with the 2 leveling builds, 1 to 35 and 35 to like 60 or 70. Then you switch to an endgame build. When you are in War Tier 3, you just have to do Renown and then spam Nightmare Dungeons. Very easy, very solid, very min-maxed, no time wasted. And if you have questions, you wanna check what I'm working on, come find me on my stream, or you can post a message, contact me on Discord, whatever you want. Have a good day. See ya.